So the NBA, according to Charania and most of the other reporting, they came out with their solutions for NBA tanking. And these solutions seem pretty weak to me. But let's read Sham's tweet. Multiple sources with knowledge of Thursday's general manager meeting, as well as a late January competition committee meeting, told ESPN that the following concepts have been discussed to curb tanking. First round picks can be protected only top 4 or top 14 plus. Lottery odds freeze at the trade deadline or a late date, no longer allowing teams to pick top 4 in consecutive years and or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes. Teams can't pick top 4 the year after making a conference finals. Lottery odds allocated based on 2-year records. Lottery extended to include all play-in teams. Flattened odds for all lottery teams. So I read that list, and my takeaway is they don't want to get to a real solution. Adam Silver, like most American men, has been bought into this feminist culture. How do women solve problems? They solve it through consensus, through committees. Leadership isn't done through consensus and committees. Leadership is bold, it's fearless, it's generally one man in his vision and his willingness to stick his neck out and say, you know what, we have a problem here, and here's exactly how we're going to solve it. The man may not come up with the solution all by himself, but he takes ownership of that solution. The NBA, because it has weak leadership from Adam Silver, and because basically, if you look at American culture, but even global culture, but let's just zero in on American culture, white men are afraid to lead. They've been beaten up and told that, hey, man, unless you got a woman in the room helping you decide what you're going to do, unless you have diversity, equity, and inclusion, and a big, wide consensus of thought on what you should do, you're just an evil white man, and therefore you should sit down somewhere and shut up and form a committee of diverse thought. So, think of the Bible. This wasn't some consensus deal that God consulted with any and everybody and said, hey, here's how I want the Bible written, blah, blah, blah. No, this is bold leadership. Here's the way things are going to be because I said so. I was placed in the position of responsibility. I breathed life into all of you all. Without me, you wouldn't be here. It's nothing. So I'm going to write the rules through my wisdom, through my foresight, through my vision, look, man, the buck stops with me. And that's what we used to have in America. Men, black, white, whomever, that built things through bold leadership, through their vision, through, hey, the buck stops with me, so I'm going to come up with the solutions. I'm going to stand behind the decisions that I make to fix the problems or to construct this league. I'm not going to form a general manager's committee and then cowardly leak out the thoughts of those, what we decided in a committee as a trial balloon. This is bad leadership. Hey, we're going to have a big discussion among all the GMs. We'll leak it out to Shams, and we'll see how that sounds and how it's received by Twitter and other broadcasters and people in the media. Let's leak out a trial balloon. And again, I'm going off memory here. When the NBA had a image problem because all the players wanted to present themselves as hip-hop thugs, because all the players wanted to be rappers and wanted to sit on the sidelines dressed as rappers. And when that mentality led to the malice in the palace, David Stern was like, man, we got a problem. These players are out of control. They have no respect for fans. They show up to games when they're not playing, or even when they are playing. They show up dressed like Tupac Shakur, and we're wondering why we have a Tupac Shakur environment inside our arenas, and fans don't feel safe, and fans don't like the players, and the players don't like the fans. And so David Stern didn't draw up a committee, say, hey, man, we're going to put in a dress code. You Negroes are not going to show up dressed to work like you're headed to hang out on some street corner. You're not going to come in dressed like you just left, or you're in some cell block somewhere in prison. You're going to put on nice clothes and dress like you're going to work. And what he knew was that how you dress affects your attitude. When you dress up and go to church, it puts you in the mentality of like, hey, man, I'm going to church. I'm dressed nicely. There's a way I need to behave based on the way I'm dressed and based on the environment that I'm in. If everybody showed up to church dressed up like they just left the set of Boys in the Hood, let's don't be surprised if churches turn into little gang territories where gang violence jumped off. There is a lack of leadership crushing American sports. There's chaos everywhere. No one wants to lead. No one wants to be accused of being racist. And maybe this offseason in the NFL, we saw a kernel of leadership sticking its head out by saying like, hey, man, I'm not going to play the DEI game. I'm going to hire whatever coach I want, whatever coach I believe in. I'm not going to let Bill Rhoden or Stephen A. Smith or Ryan Clark decide for me who I need to hire. That is a kernel of leadership that's been missing in sports. And that's not me saying, hey, black coaches shouldn't be hired, but that's me saying the color of someone's skin should not determine whether they're hired, whether they're interviewed, whether they're considered. Only their qualifications. But if you look often even college sports and the chaos that we're allowing in college sports, from name, image, and likeness to the transfer portal, the whole deal. It's in complete chaos, and we keep hearing coaches say, hey, man, someone needs to step up and lead. Hey, we need to organize and fix this because we're destroying everything. You know, people like me, it's like the mid-major football that I loved, it's being destroyed. But it's affecting the Power Four. No one can coach these guys. They all live in fear of the players because there's no leadership from the NCAA, from anybody in college sports. Men are afraid to lead. Why are they afraid to lead? Chaos, Game of Thrones, it's a ladder. Chaos is a environment, an atmosphere. It's an arena for corruption. And it's an every man for himself. And how can I make money and how can I profit from this? You're not interested in building anything. And so basically the looting you see at Walmart or some of these other places, it's no different than the looting you see in professional sports, in college sports, in all of these leaderless endeavors we have going on in America. It opens everybody up to corruption, to just worrying about, hey, how much money can I stuff in my pockets? And that's why nothing's getting done in the NCAA. That's why the NBA can't fix its tanking problems because, look, someone needs to stand up and say, you know what? We're going to monitor you throughout the entire season. And every game we think you tank, we're going to fine you. And it'll be just like, what's the deal? If you get so many technical fouls, you get suspended for a game. There's 13. You tank. If we feel like we've watched your 82 NBA game schedule and we feel like you've tanked 7 of those games, you're eliminated from the draft lottery. Period. Not everybody's going to like it. People will be upset. Hey, we didn't tank this game. We didn't take that thing. Blah, blah. But it will eliminate tanking. You again, in the top 13 teams, 14 teams. So we rule that you've tanked, you get the 15th pick in the draft. And if we rule that several teams tanked, whoever's got the worst record and tank will get the 15th pick. Whoever's got the second worst record will get the 16th pick. But you're eliminated from the draft lottery, and then the losingest team that made the playoffs gets entered into the draft lottery. Real consequences.